Welcome to another episode of Breaking Brand. This episode we have Mira, and this time I'm not doing this alone. I have someone else from Dacoit's team. Hey everyone, welcome Shreya.
Hey everyone.
And from Mira's team, this time we did not only get one guest, but two guests. Meet Shlok and Shonik from Mira's team. And Shonik is MIA, but hey, he's oh,
It
damn. In
was
fact, Shlok works
Sonic
on
wanted to make an
marketing.
entrance.
Yeah, Shonik works at I think Showbiz in Mira. Shlok handles marketing in GTM. Hey guys, welcome to the episode. Thank you for coming on the show.
Hey,
Thanks for
Rahul,
having
thanks for
us.
having us, man.
Guys, before we jump into this, right? Do you want to just give an introduction to Mira and just people they're aware what we're gonna talk about today?
Yeah, sure. Let me take that up. So yeah, at Mira, basically we are trying to solve for all of like AI hallucinations, right? So as you know, AI kind of just randomly says some stuff when you ask questions. So what we're trying to solve is we're trying to reduce the hallucinations that AI makes, right? So increase like kind of the accuracy of the AI and make it like more reliable. That's kind of what we are doing, and the way we are doing it is we're using blockchain and the consensus mechanism to for it. And yeah, that's like a short introduction of what we're doing.
Thank you, Shlok. Cool. This by the way, this is the website. I just wanted to give everyone a visual hook while they were listening to this. Now let's jump into Figma file, shall we?
Let's go.
Guys, you can see my Figma file, right?
Yep.
Yep, let's
Okay. Okay, before we start, okay, I have a question for both of you, and this is on the website part of it, okay? What is this favicon? This is the
What
older
is
logo or
this?
what? The favicon.
Yeah, that's interesting because it's like a cache issue. Because I see the new one. Because
Oh, damn.
let me get this checked.
Yeah, no
That's a
worries.
good
Like
shot. But
the eyes
that's the older logo which we designed a year ago before we did our like proper brand exercise.
but that tells you that okay, I've been using the website from
Yeah.
long time. Yeah, it's cached.
That's 100% a cash issue.
Yeah, so now you know who to airdrop. Cool. Let's jump into this, shall we?
Let's go.
Yes.
Everyone knows the format though, like everyone who's watching, I hope. But if not, at Breaking Brand, we break down brands, understand what they stand for, why they choose certain visuals, how do they communicate, why do they communicate like that, and why do they use certain imagery and things to communicate that. So we'll do that here for Mira Network today. By the way, it's not Mira Network, it's Mira, right? Not Mira AI, Mira Network, it's just Mira, correct?
Yeah, Mira or Mira Network, but nothing.
Oh.
No Mira AI, no Mira E, just MIRA Mira.
Let's start with this logo, okay? What is the story behind this logo, if you're aware?
So basically, the logo is, if you see, it's like a three pillar, right? It's essentially three blocks, right? If you look at the website, because of the glow, you can actually see those blocks like properly, right? So the black part, that negative space, becomes what that logo is, right? If you just kind of open it in the white, that's what the logos are. So those are the three blocks, and those three blocks are basically what you also see on the website, right? Which is like collective wisdom, resilient systems, and fully autonomous. And those are the three pillars and three things that we really want to achieve.
Oh, I was going much deeper with this meme. I
Oh,
was
that
thinking, okay,
makes
this.
sense. That is actually great.
See, I have noticed this last time also in the last episode. I think that you need me to just build a story around this.
That's a
Right.
pretty cool meme. Rahul, we're gonna steal and use that.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Yeah, I want to tell people like what does this. I think how we can connect this to Mira also, but just give me a second. Exactly. My kid is here. I'm gonna leave him behind. So like this. Yeah.
Cute.
Sorry. He just wanted to come and play. But it's easier than we are not going to do this because then I'll have to be with him. But yeah, so I was thinking like this in a way is what I was like this can represent a story about. Also, there's I think Pragun did the branding, right? Pragun Shreya, I don't know. Oh, sorry, Sneha.
So the Sneha did the new one with an agency called Ripe Studios that we worked with, and then Pragun had done the older logo
Oh,
that you just showed us.
oh, okay. Oh, I thought Acha, Sneha did it. I mean, Sneha's work is obviously amazing in that case. But when I saw this, I was like, okay, this might be come from here, right? Obviously, the pretty basic thing is that it's a M, like how we write an M, but like instead
Yeah.
of seeing it straight, you're seeing it from a perspective. I think here you can see that. But one thing which I noticed in this case was that the cut, right? I think you are right. I don't know if a lot of people got that thing or no. But this in if I just put this is where the logo is like this is the logo, the negative space around it, the block that is the logo. So if that's where the cut is here, the shadows, right?
Yep.
Yeah, crazy. So no, it's just about three pillars of Mira in that case, right?
Yeah, and then just like had to do like a simple logo with, like you said, M also. But this is a great story around it also. Like, I would love if you could just explain the audience on why that makes sense.
This one.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just explain the basic to my audience first. So like everyone who's watching, if you want to make a logo, there's 2 3 variations of how you can make a logo. Okay, uh, obviously the easiest one always is just to pick an initial. It doesn't mean that Mira picked the easier word, but it's just easy to remember. We can already remember alphabets, right? So if you create something around it, it's easier for people to recall that. So if you're making a logo and you want that recall value there, you want to try using something where it represent that shape. First, it makes it unique. Secondary, it's like you can always use that as a icon, stickers, and all that. So that's the M there. Why I like this was the way I was thinking was in AI's concept. Like if you give different opinions to AI, it changes opinions, right? Like if I tell, okay, here's the information, like, yeah, based on this information, this is correct. But I give it more information, it will change its perspective. So which I felt like the logo could be in that direction that okay, like we are giving you the AI which things clear, but the perspective will be based on you when you work with it. That's what I can cook in 5 minutes.
No, in fact, if you can zoom in, what I'm thinking is like something very fun, which is as I explained, right? What is hallucination is that different models have different outputs and they have different
Correct.
answers, which you can see they are coming from different point of views, right? Similar here, where one guy is seeing 4 and the other is seeing 3, right? But at
Correct.
Mira, what we are doing is instead of asking one model, we are asking multiple models and then getting consensus out of there and saying, okay, if multiple models agree that this is the output, then that is the output. So instead of having one saying 4 and one saying 3, if you have multiple saying 4, that means the truth is likely to be 4 rather than 3. Right?
Go.
So that's
Oh
why
my
I like
god.
this meme and it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like my initial perception was the same, right? Like the three pillars essentially would stand for A, they look like M3. We have like the whole theory around the 3:3 consensus. So each of them represent a model, part of the consensus mechanism. The other thing that
God.
Shlok said is something that I did not know, right? It stands for those three different pillars.
Yeah. I think that might be on the fly also, but I
Yeah.
get the vibe. But yeah, another thing which I loved specifically in the logo, right? So I had this issue with a lot of AI brands, right? That whenever they make like the logo or the branding of it, they just go full gradient. I was like, why? Why do you have to put gradient in everything? And this is why I love this. Like, where does this green color come from? Is that from something around metric?
I have no idea, to be honest. I the only thing I can make up on the fly again is green is like true, right? Green is like the right answer. Again, that's what
No,
you
no,
want to show, right? You want
I'll
to
go
give
with the
like a right
Matrix. Yes, it's from the Matrix movie.
output.
Yeah.
It's from the
Hey,
Matrix movie. It's
the whole propaganda around brand breakdown is that I just come here to give you stories, so it's just better to sell to people. But
we,
I
if
like this.
anything, are working to bring you out of the Matrix of misinformation.
True, you had different models there also. Like we had different agent Smiths, but yeah, I mean, We'll figure out something. Well, obviously, I can take this up a notch also because, like, if you notice and I feel like might if you go back to brands direction, what I think Shneya worked on. I don't know if that's true. We can obviously ask Shreya also, but the way numbers are moving here, right? I like that in this pattern. If you talk about patterns, right? So the colors is obviously green, and you're right. Slok, it could be around the true green color thing, right? But the specific green which they are using, no, I feel like that is
Yeah.
something around this. Like there's a cyber world, right? If I look at
Yep.
cyber world, it comes into this visual. But then I see these kind of graphics, right? This is a logo animation, right? Where you have these small elements or the patterns which are like I think dot patterns, right? But they are very much utilized everywhere in the new branding. Any branding I see, they are always there. But if you notice, they are kind of similar to metrics, right? Like you have this different font instead of you have different patterns which are talking. The 0 to 1 kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Shia, you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much the same. Like all of the dots and all of that, from what I could make out on like Twitter and like everywhere else, general like brand materials, right? I think it also like represents the different nodes, also the
Yep.
aspect of
Mm.
Mira. So it probably represents like a consensus, a collective. Like you said, dots are the first thing that you think of, right? Whenever you say, hey, multiple things coming together. So I think dots could also be like a huge representation for consensus as a whole, right?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, Shia, but I gotta go back because I just figured out
Mhm.
something, which I think Sneha will be very happy that I noticed because this is something we designer do, right? We wanna put something
Right.
which you don't like. It's like the same. Was that famous FedEx, right? You have like this logo
Yeah,
of
you
home
have
in
those.
arrow,
Yeah,
right?
you have
The
this
arrow
motto
and
and
node.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
What is that element in Mira? I'll let you guys guess.
Can you zoom in?
Yeah, I'll zoom in. I'll zoom in, guys. This just hit me. I wanna know what do you think that is. There's a
Data
hint, by the
centers.
way. Sorry?
The pillars also look like data centers to me.
No. And that's good try, Shanik. But that's a very wild guess. If you notice, so this graphic gave it away, okay? So here, if you notice, these boxes, the way they are structured, they are chat boxes. See?
Yeah.
So this is actually a chat icon.
Oh, okay.
Chat icon stretched. So you have your general chat icon like this, right? Which is stretched into a shape. See, like you would not notice that generally, but like when I notice it, like yeah, this is obvious to see, right? Like how you have. So if you notice this is the chat bubbles, like that triangle we have at the bottom, right? And then the square. But instead of keeping it simple, like so, I think what she would have thought about this, and again, this is where I love the 3D direction of it, and I'm gonna ask like, why did we not continue with that? But the perspective of even like having instead of having a simple flat variation, it's okay instead of like let's instead of going seeing from front, let's see from top direction, right? And that somewhere looks like a chat box, and this graphic obviously made it obvious. Shia, where did you find this graphic? It's on website, right?
yeah, that was from the
Yeah.
website.
Oh, I did not see it on the website. Let me go and check.
On the writing.
Mm.
Top
It
right.
would be about section.
Top right. Writing and about there.
Yeah, here's where they make it obvious that okay, this is happening.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
I don't know.
because yeah, it's a
It's giving
social.
me
It's
more.
this.
Yes. Sorry, go on.
No, I was saying that it's also the about tab. So I think there they've stretched it to look like chat boxes because we're talking about something. So possibly because of that. But yeah, now I kind of see
Yeah. I
your
like
point as
if
well.
you see this mark, no, you'll notice that okay, this is where she's showing different
Hmm.
chart buttons, different shapes.
Mhm.
And I think if she was also thinking on doing different directions on with that, I think, but I like still like that. I'll copy this image also because this is a great example of how she is expanding this whole branding into even future, right? Like so, if I notice the same patterns, dot patterns is here, right? I think half dot pattern we call it. It's also here in the photos instead of having a boring ass photo. And then you also have this in the background and everything. So that's really interesting. I think this is square only. Yeah.
Hmm. No, these are we basically call it, I think, God particle vibes, right? So it's what
Oh,
Shreya said. Those are like nodes and like to show
More,
more
yeah.
decentralized aspect of it. Right. So it's nothing but just like, you could say it's data, you could say it's GPU, you could say it's compute, but it's just to show
I think it's
things more.
pixel.
Yeah, exactly. It's just pixel.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Pixels you can see in that, and then you can move around with it. But yeah, that's really I think the logo was in that way, it has that hidden part, which is interesting. Then obviously the website, so the pillar thing I might have not noticed when I'm looking at the logo though, but this obviously makes it obvious when I'm going through these sections,
Yeah.
that on hover they change pillars, so I can definitely see them. And I also love the shadows, like they're really interesting to see. Cool. I think let's see the white paper or PDF. By the way, if you have time and you want to get into it, you should check out white paper of Boundless. I love their shit,
Mm.
and I think every Web3 brand should do that. I'll put the link somewhere for other people to go through. But yeah, cool. Oh, you know what? Like I like this. I think this covers the general. This is what I saw when Pragung launched the brand, and like I was just going through the launch of Mira, right? Like I get this basic, but now tell me the story of this. I think we'll go with this thing later, a mascot. But I want to know about this. Like, where does these graphic come from? This is very different than the initial, which I saw at the branding, right? Where does this graphic style, this I think Roman or historical culture
Yeah.
comes in?
Got it. Shawnee gonna take it. Oh, I don't know where he is. Okay. So basically, let me backtrack a bit. So what happened
Okay.
was we got the brand done through our team on a bunch of like Mira stuff. But for
Yeah.
socials, what we were doing is we still had a bit of like Renaissance vibes, right? As part of the brand. So if you see, they weren't like, I would not say they were like knights and like army, but it was just like Roman Renaissance vibe,
Hmm.
just as I think like inspiration that we just start using in our socials. I don't think there was like a reasoning behind it, but we just kind of leaned into it because they looked so good and then they made sense with our brand.
Uh,
Also, right? So I think it just started off as like we were being creative with our videos and like images, and then we just like kind of leaned into it and just took over the whole lore to say, right, of this. So we
oh,
then we created a community call and like reverted into like state of the realm. Then when we had campaigns, we named it like some voice of the realm, sigil of truth, right? Then we just kind of more and more evolved
double down
into
on
this
it.
Renaissance night aspect. Yeah.
No. Shreya, you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think when I like first saw the whole imagery and all of that, like you said, it majorly like contributes to the whole truth aspect and like bravery and verification and things like that. And I think like the first thought for everyone when you think of those words is something strong that depicts it. And this is not something that's boring, right? This sort of gives you room for developing a lore, makes it more human and like nicer, more
Mm,
aesthetic and stuff like that. So why not like revert to Roman and like Greek mythology and then call it like, hey, this is brave, this is truth, right? Just those really strong adjectives there. So I think it's super
yeah.
cool that.
Yeah. I think
Sorry,
we had
before
something
we sorry,
similar.
Rahul, before you cut off, can you bring in Shonik again? He got dropped off in
Oh, okay.
backstage. No.
Wait. Oh. Hey, Shonik, welcome back, bro.
Sorry, I dropped
Sorry.
off by mistake.
Yeah, no. So yeah, I was saying like even we saw something similar to Soulflare also. They had this whole vibe, and they're obviously there. So while I was explaining in the Soulflare, I was like, okay, every brand needs their own lore, right? Like in Boundless, it was the berries and everything. In Mira, I think the pillars were there, but again, pillars are still technical. You need something human, and I feel like the reason for this, why this was needed, right? So like think of a brand as a human. How a human evolves, brand also evolves, right? And you'll never have the first draft of the brand which was launched to be always the case. It will always evolve,
Yeah.
like based on people's idea and all that, right? So in this case, why I feel like this was obviously got in was like that you had a visual style that okay, we have this illustration, right? Which is that okay, we have half tone. Let's just call them half tone imageries, right? But which kind of imagery you need, that was not decided. Like you can't use a computer. It's a AI. You don't want to use a typical networking vibe, right? So like when you're talking about State of the Realm, you don't want to just use half faces of AI. So what else is there? How do you show that same thing? So obviously there's the typical metrics vibe, right? Like if I want to show a consensus of people and all that, I will go for maybe a court or judge or something like that, like people in suits, right? Like a team. If I just search for team, you'll see these kind of visuals, people in suit and all that. But that is boring, as Shreya said. Like Mira can't go that boring. So you obviously want to do something interesting, and there's nothing interesting. And I have told this again and again. Then three things, okay? Nature, history, and mythology. If you want to make a lore, just find what do you connect with these three things, and you always find something which people connects to. Dacoit is an example of the same. We go into history. Soulfare went with again the Roman mythology and all that. In this case, you I think also went with a little bit of Roman vibe with that history part of it, because this was like something larger than life. And I'm not sure. I mean, obviously, again, you can
I
sell
have
this
I have
later.
a I have an interesting theory,
Tell me.
which I will pitch to you for this design style, right? And this is something that, again, like I'm a huge history and mythology buff. Read a lot about Greek mythology, Roman mythology, Egyptian mythology, even sometimes even Japanese mythology. So specifically during the time that there were great thinkers in the Greek age, right? Like you
Mm,
had your Socrates and your Epicurus and all of your great philosophers of those times. They
mm.
basically they were
Oh.
the story is that they were always looking for the truth of the matter, right? Like what is true, what is not, to philosophize about, to talk about, to think about. And they would often come together in common
Mm.
areas and sit and debate with each other till they are able to come to that one central piece of what is true and what is not, right?
Ah.
So my entire take on this was also that, and this is something that a term that we use internally is also like the consensus of the masses. AI, that is, the consensus of the model, and the consensus brings the truth. So my whole take on the whole design style
Mm.
plus the whole lore around this was like, hey, you're bringing people together to come discover the truth and debate and figure out what it really is. So yeah, that was like at least my theory around, yeah, like a jury of people who
Yeah.
come together.
Yeah, I think yeah, Middle Ages. I think yeah, like it's just like I think if I just go how Roman used to decide on things.
Greeks, I think, more than Romans, right? Like,
Yeah,
your
Greeks.
Socrates and
Yes, yeah.
everything.
And you're right. I think this definitely makes that part of the story that okay, they used to like yeah, so variation collection device decision made by citizens and symbols, collective decisions, right? Like figuring out everyone's thought
Yep.
is there, and then you just like figure it out democracy wise. I think yeah, this actually work. Yeah, that you're right. I obviously one more thing I noticed, right? So I think this Shonik, you definitely put it out very nicely that the different culture shows thinkers and perspectives, and also it collectively answers things, right? And that's why I think this works. Secondary, what I noticed was that the name Mira also, right? It's not like a name like Gen X or something like which is not a two verbs mixing together, right? So the name by itself is so I think connected with history. Like in Indian, obviously we had Mira in a different perspective, right? I'm not sure like what does that mean here in this your brand's case, why the name was there, but this name still feel like something from mythology, right? So I think that's connected there directly, and then also this aligns. And one more thing which happened, right? So now that getting visual element was the font. So if you notice on the font, here we have this serif font. Okay, serif font with no personality. This is a typical, like not a typical, but a serif font. How that looks like, right? That's the basic one. Once you have this, but when you had these graphics, you start noticing that slowly they had personality. So here you have this realm which has this personality with like just making italics, right? But then slowly it changes. Then you have these element also, right? These graphics, these I think what they're called symbols to support the typography. So then those slowly evolved, and because you had this graphing, I think that's the why this also worked. And I feel like subconsciously, because you had this font, this graphic might also come from there. What do you think on that?
No, I agree with you, to be honest, because a lot of our internally, right, the design team was doing things and they were given free hand on how they want to think of, right? But the font was decided. The font and logos are not some, and color is not something that they can be free with, right? Because that's the brand's color and that's what you want to do. So it might be that the designers are they start thinking, okay, what kind of visual imagery makes sense with this font that we have.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
uh,
Yeah, I think that could be a one part of the lore because like we worked a lot of on different things, right? So let's just check on some directions. And this like subconsciously happens. You don't choose to do this. It just happens because you're there. So if I just search for let's say Renaissance, right? Yeah, here is. If you just search for an art painting, a lot of websites and graphics you will see will have sans serif font there because it just aligns with them. That's what at
yeah.
that time people were using on. So yeah, I think I'll just search for this and you'll get a lot of design work in that case. Yeah. Sans serif, sans serif. And then obviously there's a different style of sans serif, but I think this is also a good example, right? So I think now we are reaching somewhere with examples because if you notice this element, this is the first page of Pinterest, right? When I search this, you see these stars and elements, and then you see this here. So it connects, and then this is where it all got connected. The brand evolved from it, and also I'm happy that you did not go into a typical AI vibe. Like if I just go and search for AI design here, and you'll notice that everyone will have that same like multi-hour gradient is there. But if I just go AI website, let me search, and that would give some better example. Yeah, gradients obviously. Then they obviously have pixels, but the user pixels which happened here was very different. So that's just I really liked. I like the way that it's not in the front, it's in the back, it's there, but it's not in your face. Yeah, I think there's some cool colors. They have these patterns, and I also noticed like we are also using the score patterns and all that, but not we are not double down, which is nice. Now let's jump into that. So we figured out how the logo comes. So why the name, by the way? That question still stands. You all have any idea on that?
Um, I think it's like a short name, right? Everybody wants a four-letter name that is easily tokenable, that is easy to pronounce, that in any language that you want, right? Mira is something that can slip, like, it's not tough for any language person to kind of say, right? It's four-letter, it's
Correct.
easy if you want to make it a token. It's also one of the AI researchers, right? Mira.
Oh,
If you know
I
about
don't know.
her. So yeah, so it's like a lot of things I think that helped there.
Yeah, I think this is obviously basic for everyone that if you want to make a easier name to recall, make it two syllables so people can easily just speak Mira. And I think one tip for anyone who's making names also, like if you're choosing name, always make sure that like so what in setting in Mira and like if when you speak me, your mouth closes and when you say ra, it opens. So it's contradictory, and that's why it's easier to speak. If you say me, it's gonna repeat. So it's gonna again become a tongue twister. I know that you did not think of this, but if anyone who is just thinking of naming, keep these
Uh,
things in mind. Like just make it two syllable or three syllable max. Make sure that when your words end, they are not ending into the same position when you always speak it. So that's why it make it easier.
I
Cool.
was I was
Now,
also just checking. Like I thought Mira like you, right? I also thought that it was primarily like an Indian name.
yeah,
Uh, Overall, right? Like, and then I
correct.
checked, and I'm like, most of the people listed, it's actually a pretty global name. You from Japanese people to European people, all of them have a very common. It's a very common name across the globe. So I think that's something that's pretty cool about the name as well. That
yeah,
it's
Mm,
like I
they choose a global name rather than an Indian name.
true.
yeah. Like Mira Murati is an Albanian person also, right? Like
Yeah.
her name is Mira, which is it sounds Indian, but she's not Indian or related to India at all. So
Yeah, I think it's a name which aligns. And also, like I was obviously this is the brand guidelines, and if you'll notice here, it's very differently depicted how to use it, and the way the brand has evolved is very different now. We don't have these numbers, and I'm assuming like I don't see it anywhere on your brand, so I'm happy the way it did not just follow exactly through on the how it was with this. Because like here, if you notice this doesn't look that nice. Oh, I think okay, interesting. There's also tried to make icons from the shape pattern, obvious. If designers, we found a pattern and we'll just double down on it. We'll use it for everything. Imagery, icons. You give us anything and we'll just make everything out of that. So I'll see that icon thing. So that is interesting. Cool. I think let's go to the next part then. Let me just put this patterns as icons. By the way, I don't know. Is this theme following the icon thing? I'm not seeing on a website and everywhere, but is like internally is this working?
Yes and no. Like it's there. It's part of what we want to do. But as you said, right, it's evolved in a way where we want to be more human, like approachable and like community first. So a lot of these don't make as much sense now than they would in maybe if you're doing more B2B kind of stuff.
Yeah, because like they remind me of this Bharat Kam kind of a thing, right? Like this is a Indian arts like pattern, right? Like they kind of when I look at see the squares and all that, I'm looking at like this is very much like that. I would have seen this as I live in Gujarat, so we have seen this like a lot of this is a culture here. Like it reminds me of this. Could be a cool way of integrating the Indian culture, but again, it's very much on the brand. Cool. Now let's jump in. I think we figured out the logo part of it. We got the name. We got out the evolution of this brand, which is interesting. Let's jump into this mascot. What happened here? Like why? Why?
Okay,
You
so
need to break
basically,
patterns, Rahul.
I mean, hey, ठीक है. I mean, that's like that just works for everything. Okay, then like we gotta break patterns.
So let me go back to the question, right? So we first got the question when we were talking a lot in Korea and China. I think Sean dropped off again by mistake. I'm not sure.
It's too much busy dropping off. I think his connection is
Okay.
just gone. Once he's back, I'll just get him here.
Cool. Let me continue. So basically, when we start talking to a lot of people in Korea and China, we realize that they all like a mascot, right? They all like stickers. They all like when there's like a mascot, like in Discord and Telegram. So we wanted to do something with the mascot, and for weeks we were thinking, okay, what would a Mira mascot look like? Which animal do we go with, right? Just like any crypto brand, right? Which animal? What do we go with? And then we realized either most animals are like used or like overused, right? You don't want to do a penguin, you don't want to do rabbits, you don't want to do like monkeys, etc., right? So and then we realized it doesn't seem true to Mira. It also doesn't make sense in case of what Mira's branding has been currently, right? Like any of these characters didn't make a lot of sense. So we went back to the designers and we had these like icons, right? Which if you go to the brand guide, there were these user icons. If you realize if you zoom in, if you realize the Apple, when you log in, there's like a Mac OS icon, right?
Yeah, the user icons.
The user icon, exactly. So that is also part of our, I think this is a PR guideline, but that is also like part of our branding guidelines and character that we found. And it made sense because it felt more to the brand. But we wanted to make it cute. So we just went and asked our designers, can you make something which is very small, cute, right? Something which has a full body, you can play around with emotions, put clothes on it, etc. And this is what we came up with. They came up with a bunch of options. We did like an internal voting, and then this is what everybody found like the cutest and liked the most, and that's how we got ahead.
Interesting. I mean, this is very. I mean, I get it. It's not connected to Mira in that way, and it's very different. So I'll just go. For my viewers, I'll just tell them a few things. Right. First thing is this metro style you see. This is something we call retro characters. When I saw this graphic, the first thing I remember was this Miss Minute from TVN. Yeah, this one. And I was like, okay, this could be an example because again, like we consume things from all around. But then as a designer, I figured out, okay, the designers are definitely consuming new feature like designs and all that. And retro characters are very much in right now. So a lot of few of my favorite, like if you just go to retro characters, you'll find these kind of characters are utilized in food brand and everywhere. And they have the similar vibe. So the vibe, if I want to create mascot, they went with this, where the concept was that, okay, just you pick a shape or you pick a character, just give it a face and all that.
Yeah.
This is, I think that's what happened here also. Like if you notice, you can figure out the only interesting thing which I liked here is, right, like I think it might be a problem for you guys in future, but
Yeah, yeah,
you don't
we,
have hands,
yeah,
right? And I think there was this stone based character, I think stone or rock
Geodude,
based. Yeah, I think he had hands, so he or she had hands.
yeah,
But like the character looks like to me, like if instead of hands just had legs, right? But you don't
yeah.
have
Maybe
hands on this character.
Whirlpool. Look at Whirlpool, or it's like a Pokemon. I forgot. It looks more like that. Um,
Yeah.
right.
I mean,
This
this,
one.
this is all retro characters only
Yeah,
in that way.
yeah,
This is the branding where
uh,
you see retro brands and all that. But the only thing I see is like you don't have hands. How does that came in? Like, 'cause I know that anyone who designed it, they would have definitely designed hands. How does your
yeah.
message
I
doesn't have
mean,
hands?
no, there were like multiple versions of it, right? Some were like with hands, some were like in the knight shape with just the mascot head that we have, right? But this is what everybody just like enjoyed and found like cute. Plus, I
Mm,
felt like not having hands is like a unique personality, like you see in this one, right? I feel like you can do a lot more if it doesn't have hands. It feels like a lot more cuter to show emotions just with legs, right? If it's happy, the legs are like
yeah,
splitting straight, if it's sometimes the legs can be on top as well. Like you can do anything. It's because it's circular also, right?
yeah.
So I didn't think too much on that, but I just found it like fun.
No, yeah, makes sense. I think I get it. Shoning is back or what?
Mm.
Mm, no.
No, he's back. He's back. Hey, Shonik, sorry,
Oh.
bro.
Sorry,
Yeah.
guys. It
Oh,
has started raining, so I've just internet just dropped off. Uh, I
by
think
the way,
sorry, sorry, go
let's
ahead.
yeah, let's go through some comments, right? And we'll jump back into it. I think, but we gotta talk to some of our people. So we have Palak here. Hey, Palak. Chirag, I don't know what he's talking about though. But yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I think like yeah, nothing more comments in there. But guys, cool session though. I'll just go back, sh- see some more stuff, and then we can just let's close this, right? So I think this so the memes, the mascot come from this culture, right? And now I think I have not seen any product UIs, so I can't. Mostly we try to roast that also. In this case, we could not, and I would love if you can just like go into that direction and see how we can play around with that. Another problem I have, okay, and this might come a little bit like that, but I feel like there's too much jargons. Okay, and what I mean is that the language is not that human. Like when I'm going through reading through this stuff, right? Where's Mira? Oops. Oh, here it is. Right, the way you explain me, and that okay, yeah, this we come like the consistent, and then we give answer. If you just said it here, right? Get the best answer through the consensus, that would just like be much easier for me instead of like just going into this. But I again, it's not like direct B2 uh, C, so it's very different in that case. People are building on top of it. They'll build a solution. But I think that's the only thing which I was like, okay, this is too many. Like it takes me time to understand what does Mira actually do, instead of understanding it very easily.
No, that's a great shout. Thanks for that. Again, I think a lot of the copy and stuff that you see is also um, earlier in the days, right? So it was like created 6 months, 8 months before now. And as you said, the brand has evolved, the company has evolved, everything has evolved with time. So I think as we move closer to the main net and stuff, we will edit all of these and make it more human readable as well.
Yeah, and even on the product side, I'm sure in soon you'll have some products to play around with and check out. Those are all in the works. I think a core reason that earlier it was a little difficult to understand is because the problem itself is not a simple one that like everyone
Hmm.
even today understands, right? A lot of people are just using LLMs for outputs, copy pasting. You'll see a lot of that on the internet, right? And it's not a problem many people are aware of. So it's a whole awareness journey of also educating people to understand these terminologies because they are important. And plus, again, from a B2C context, yes, these are difficult to say understand concepts right off the bat. In a B2B perspective, however, like the top companies using it, they see this and they're like, it's like, they understand what we're talking about, right? So sometimes it's like who's the audience, what are you showing to which audience, and which audience are you talking to, that influences language a lot. If you
Hmm.
see our Twitter and the post there, you see that, we really break down a lot of the information that we're trying to show to our audiences there.
Okay, I think get it. I mean, obviously, when I look at the social media, it's a very different game altogether.
Yeah, yeah.
Copy on social media is different. Obviously, the even the meme game is very different. And I understand that, and at least in crypto and AI, I feel like, cause it's so much into future tech and it's so experimental that you can't just like fix, okay, this is how I'm gonna talk. You gotta get a user, so it's gonna change. And yeah, I get it. But yeah, this was a cool session. Shreya, you have any thoughts on this?
Nothing. I think I was just going to say about the whole language aspect at the end, right? I did see you guys had posted like a bunch of articles and stuff like that. I was, in fact, going through it myself today before, this. But yeah, I think it's really cool that you do put out articles and have your users know the tech aspect as well as the human aspect of you having to put out the whole Greek mythology and like the whole mythology aspect of it. So I think it's a very cool blend that you guys are doing instead of just like any other regular AI brand, right? Just a bunch of tech and nothing human about it. So yeah, I think that's a super cool approach.
Yeah, I mean,
Thanks a lot.
yeah. I think that's really cool. I think I would love to. So I think every brand should have this uh, something called brand lore. You won't have a page of that, and you can just talk like, oh, this is gonna be updated talk. You'll keep updating and all that. But it's really so cool to just read about, okay, why does Brand's brand look like this, and whatever we do this episode, that could just like an article on every brand which is doing. I mean, obviously that's a very ideal world for me, but it will depend on that. Thank you guys coming on this. And if you have any thoughts, feel free to share it to, I think, 270 people who are watching us.
Oh wow.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yes, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Rahul. Thanks, Shreya, for having us here. I loved the session. A lot of questions that I didn't think of. A lot of lore that just I want to now go back and think, if you're doing it the right way, do we need to change something? And think more. Maybe if the mascot needs hands, I don't know. It probably won't have, but yeah.
No,
I
but
will.
like what I would do to give, instead of giving it hands, I would give it clothing. So like give it a jacket
Yeah, of,
with
of
hands,
course. Yeah.
fake hands, right? Like there's no hands in it, just like empty.
Rahul, the cool thing
Yeah.
about having just a face and legs is that you can do so much with just
Yeah.
aesthetics around it. You can put him in a metal suit and make him Iron Man for all you care,
I
right?
mean,
Like
that I think
he
we
can
can do
jump,
with
you can do all of
even
those
with
things.
hands and everything. We can do the Iron Man thing,
Yeah.
but I get the context in that way.
Yeah.
I would love to see some
I
stickers though. Sorry.
Yeah, so I imagine this mascot plushie, right? Like that's what I think sold me for it. I feel like it's such the
Yeah, I'm
plushie
gonna.
in the
Yeah.
pengu size, right? If you were seeing all the pengus that people have, I think that small plushie would look amazing for this.
Yeah, I think I saw under this. I saw under this. Someone posted this plushie. Yeah, here it is.
Yeah,
Someone posted something like this
yeah,
with AI, I guess. But yeah, the
Yeah.
plushie thing is there. I don't know what they're like in this core. Yeah, you have very huge Korean audience. I've seen that, like the interactions
yeah.
like very crazy in
Yep.
there.
We also have I think the day we released the mascot, our Korean Telegram group kind of just went nuts and started making insane number of stickers.
Oh,
And
crazy.
many of them have given it hands because I'm assuming that they used some sort of a tool to generate it, so the tool automatically gave it hands. But yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, no, but like so, like again, very
sticker
small
packs
thing.
coming soon. Sticker packs will be probably in your hands
Definitely
by
do
next week.
Telegram and Discord stickers like with motion. That those are the crazy ones. But like I was just going through this graphic, and whoever did this, I love that this is AI, and then you have the mix of actual artwork in there, like your white paper, and then you also added this to have that consistent brand lore. But I see the even the Roman and the whole Greek culture here also with
Yeah.
these elements and the thing. So, I think yeah, that's really cool. I think yeah, that's all. I mean that like obviously once you go to history and mythology, it's just like it's open. You can do a lot of things there. But yeah, crazy. Thank you guys so much. Let me just close this and then
Awesome.
Yeah, if
uh,
I mean, if you just scroll up, there's also a wallpaper pack that we released in the last week, where we have desktop and mobile wallpaper. So if you want to
yeah,
share
I
it with
think you
your
have
followers, you should.
this one, no, the mock-up one.
Yeah, this one. Yeah.
No, so there's a Google Drive link, and then there are like bunch of mobile and phone wallpaper, mobile and laptop wallpapers.
Oh, okay. I think I went here. Oh, here it is.
So
And
I
people
just
liked our
downloaded
like
a.
art so much that we would
Oh.
like we just open source it.
Oh, yeah.
But all of
I
this
think
is
this,
AI generated, by the way, guys. Like,
that obviously we noticed. I think this is so this thing, right, which started with a lot of brands are now doing this, is I think cause of Perplexity. The way
Yeah.
they have started just
Mid Journey.
I mean, not. I mean, Midjourney, also you can generate these things, but what I meant was like if I go to Perplexity account, right?
yeah,
Whatever
The
I
yeah,
use,
they
labs.
do a lot of this.
they
Yeah.
share
Yeah.
these
Oh yeah.
graphics
Oh
which you
yeah.
can save and as a bookmark and all that, right? I think that just
Correct.
obviously
Correct. Correct.
like this, for example, I know it's here, but I think that trend of having wallpapers and custom lore based graphics, which people can just use for their own self instead of so the simple trick beforehand with branding was a lot of people would just like if you just search for, let's say right now this is obviously started Web3 and AI, but if you just go to Web2 blogs, right, I would like just call it, let's say payments, and search for that, most of the graphics you will see it will be a text on the left side and this illustrations or this something shit like this, right? That used to be
Yep.
the older before the AI thing. Either you would have these pictures, you will have maybe the logo shape somewhere around it and paste some graphics in it, the typical ways. But then obviously Web3 changed it a little bit, then AI changed the whole thing because now I can just train one
Yep.
AI chat and get consistent artworks, which I don't have to now create specific artwork. Like I remember, I think back in 17 or 18 or 19, I used to charge per graphics like this. Now I can't.
Correct.
Like this part is gone now. Nobody's gonna invest time into getting these done because you can just train one agent and like you can have this lore where you have these kind of graphics, right? Where that is. Yeah, like the artwork which you showed me here, and I can just continue on this. Like, what if I want to make Dune, but with a metrics mix? Just give that to Midjourney and ChatGPT. You got some direction. You just need to understand taste and find out what you want. But once you have that, you don't need, I think, a person sitting and doing that individually. So yeah, thank you. I think it's made my job easier. So I'm happy.
That's insane.
Cool, guys. I think that's it. Thank you so much for coming on this. If you have anyone of any last thoughts, please feel free to share me. If not, we'll see you all in the next episode of Brand Breakdown.
Yes.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Shreya. Thanks
Thank
Rahul
you.
for having us. It's a great session.
Thank you.
And